has been a lot more than in previous years, I will say. The number one thing that catches people's attention about Chapman, other than Dodge, your first year, your roommates are completely random. Hey guys, it's Erin and welcome to today's video. I know that college decisions are getting released right now and the time has come where the current senior class of 2024? No, it's 2023. Okay, there we go. The class of 2023 has been getting their college decisions, and hopefully if you are seeing this video, one of your acceptances was Chapman University. Today, I'm going to be telling you everything you need to know, the pros, the cons, everything that you might want to consider from a current sophomore at Chapman University. Even if you are not a current senior who is going to college next year, if you are looking for colleges to consider in the future, I would definitely say watch this video to see if you think Chapman could be a good fit for you. So, starting with the pros, pro number one, this is something that college is going to teach you regardless of where you end up, but if you put yourself out there, you're going to meet a ton of amazing people, not just within your grade level or your major. Join clubs, join organizations. I have tons of friends who are business majors. I will say that probably is overwhelming majority of my friends. They are within my major, but I do also have a lot of other friends who are in STEM, are in Dodge, are in performing arts, music. Personally, the biggest way that I've made a lot of friends across different majors is NSU is definitely number one. That was like basically the highlight of my freshman year. Number two, I joined a dance team this year. You can also do a ton of other things too, like you can join a Greek organization, like a sorority fraternity, you can join a sports team. To continue on about putting yourself out there and building your social life, all that stuff. Although joining Greek life is great, personally I'm not in a sorority, but the great thing about Chapman is unlike a lot of schools, specifically like Bama, like schools on the East Coast and in the South, it's not a make or break your reputation. The main reason you join Greek life is because it's a way to get involved on campus. But if you find other ways to get involved on campus, it's not really gonna matter and doesn't hurt your image whatsoever. This next thing I think is the number one thing that catches people's attention about Chapman other than Dodge is the campus. The campus is stunning, it's beautiful. The campus has a lot of great facilities. There are a couple that I will say should definitely be torn down and rebuilt, but a lot of the buildings around campus are very up to date, very modern. When you walk onto the Chapman campus, you'll just get your breath completely taken away. And then kind of adding on to the beautiful campus, although the campus is beautiful itself, the Chapman housing is also very, very nice, meaning the dorms and then also the off-campus housing apartments. So there are a total of 5 dorms. There is Prawley, Henley, Sandu, and then the Moreland halls. And then there might be some in Glass as well. North and South Moreland are like, they're not the best. However, Sandu, which is the one I lived in, is incredibly nice and it's right above the cafeteria. All the dorms are very close in proximity, so if you want to see your friends, it's literally like at most a 2 or 3 minute walk to go see them if they live in another dorm. It's great. And as far as off-campus housing, I'm currently living at Grand and I love it. The only downside about Grand is the commute if you don't have a car. The shuttle can be kind of annoying. You just have to plan accordingly so that you don't miss your classes. But other than that, I would say nothing but great reviews about Chapman housing. One of the best things about Chapman, in my opinion, is the location itself. There's so much to do in Orange County, and Orange County is genuinely just so beautiful. There are 3 beaches all about 30 minutes away from Chapman. There's Newport Laguna and Huntington. We have the Source about 15-20 minutes away, so if you are a K-pop lover, that is a great way to go. UCI is only 20 minutes away, so I've actually been able to make quite a few friends there. Maybe I'm biased because I do really love Chapman, but this is just the place to be. The last thing on my pros list is all the food options. So you have Panther Bucks and the Calf. The Calf, it has its highs and lows, I will say, but they do have good food. But if you don't feel like eating at the Calf, we have a lot of great other options on campus where you can use Panther Bucks, and basically Panther Bucks get loaded onto your ID card and you get to use that as money. It is part of your tuition. Meal plan I have right now is I don't do the CAF, I just do the Panther Bucks only one. That's the commuter meal plan. But if you're living in the dorms, you have to do the one that's like a certain amount of meals per week and then a certain amount of Panther Bucks for the semester, versus the off-campus commuter Panther Bucks plan is just you pay for X amount of Panther Bucks for the whole year, and then you have the whole year to like get through them. We have something called the Circle, or Old Town Orange, I believe is the official name of it. It's just known as the Circle to Chapman kids, and it is filled with a bunch of restaurants. There's a lot of great ramen places, boba places, pizza places. Having all these options available is definitely a very big perk that Chapman offers. Now we are going to get to the middle ground, the kind of gray area. These things you can interpret as a pro or a con. First one is small class sizes. In comparison to UCLA, and my best friend goes there, so we compare this kind of stuff all the time, where class sizes are like 200 people, or even UCI, where I have friends at UCI who are in lectures of 200 people. I think business is probably one of the biggest majors, and the biggest class size I have had was 50 people. The smallest class size I have had was 18, and I think classes range for business at least 18 is the smallest that I've seen, to I would say on average about 45 people. It is great because you do get to make more friends in your class, you get to know the people in your classes, and you do receive more attention from your professors so they can get to know you a lot better. I personally do think it's a perk. It makes it a lot easier for teachers to be accessible outside of class as well. Chapman is a smaller school. It is a private university. We have about 8,500 kids, I would say. However, Chapman currently, I believe, is trying to get a little bit bigger student population wise, so the amount of kids that they have been accepting has been a lot more than in previous years. I will say this current freshman class, there was about 400 to 500 more kids accepted than there should have been, and the incoming freshman class, so you watching this, if you are deciding to come to Chapman next year, your class has even more than theirs. Housing is a little bit of a problem because Chapman itself cannot physically accommodate, or can barely physically accommodate, how many kids are trying to get this like into the school. What I appreciate about a smaller school too is I get to see my friends around a lot. Although it is becoming an increasingly larger school, it's still a pretty relatively small size to like a lot of the UCs, for example. You are required to live in Chapman housing for your first 2 years. I think that is a pro. On the flip side, if you can commute, it definitely saves a lot of money on room and board. Freshman year, it's kind of out of your control what dorm you're in. You're just kind of randomly assigned. It's usually by major in some sort of way. When it comes to your sophomore housing, that's up to you to decide, but it is more of a first come, first serve basis on where you end up. You just kind of have to hope and pray that either you or one of your roommates, if you have preferred roommates, gets a good registration time slot to pick your housing. Housing is a very up in the air, first come, first serve type basis your second year, and if you want to live in Chapman housing for your junior and senior year, you have the option to, but again, it is that first come first serve basis. That segues me into my last point in the middle ground gray area category, which is roommates. Your first year, your roommates are completely random. You are required to room with someone within your major, and that is why you are randomly assigned to someone. You fill out the survey on a Chapman website, what time you go to bed, what time do you wake up, how many days of the week do you think you'll be out with friends, how clean are you, do you need peace and quiet when you go to sleep, or are you okay with background noise? It's things like that, like living style related questions, and then they pair you with someone who's very similar, if not identical. For me, my roommate and I got along extremely well last year. She's great. I'm still friends with her. When I see her around campus, I say hi to her all the time, and it's not awkward whatsoever. There's no beef or anything. Like, I literally love her. Shout out Kate. Your sophomore year and then your years to come, you can also decide who you want to live with. As good of an experience as I had with my randomized roommate, I do know a good amount of people who also did not like their randomized roommate. I think overall Chapman does a pretty good job at pairing people, but it would just be unrealistic of me to tell you like there isn't a small chance that you might not like your roommate, and that's just that. for the last part, we're going to get into the cons, the part that pretty much any and all universities don't tell you, but the students do. So here I am. Number one thing that turns people's heads away from Chapman is the very pretty price tag that comes with it. If you look up Chapman's graduation rate, at first, like coming to Chapman, it was something that definitely scared my dad away, because he was like, oh, why are people transferring? Obviously there's gotta be something there. It's actually not entirely because of the academic side of it. Chapman is a pretty good school academic wise. It's because of the tuition. Big reason of why I see a lot of my friends actually transfer out their sophomore year or junior year, because of the price tag. Pertaining especially to business majors and Dodge majors, there are going to be cliques within your major. This is common. This is going to happen at any university you go to. Where I can defend myself a little bit is business is probably the second largest major here at Chapman. So even at clubs and stuff, when I'm trying to branch outside of my major, a lot of the people I meet are also business majors. I cannot deny that I will say some of my best friends are business majors. However, currently I'm not living with a single business major. That's also just something that's pretty unavoidable no matter where you go. This is definitely something that I think a lot of people would look for if they're going to a bigger school, looking to go to a bigger school. Chapman is a D3 school, so the athletics here are not that big. Like, football games are not a huge deal here. People do go to football games, but it's not like the whole stadium is going to be packed with people. It's usually if there's homecoming weekend or some sort of special event where there might be a football game during that time. Day-to-day life every weekend, like if it's a random Saturday and there's a football game, chances are there's like not a lot of people that are gonna go, even though you will not catch a lot of people showing their school spirit at athletic events, just because, you know, it is a D3 school. It's definitely not our top thing here. If you talk to any student at Chapman, they have a lot of school spirit in the sense that they really love it here. It's just not necessarily translated into the athletics because it's not as exciting as if you were going to a Division I school. Going back to sororities and fraternities, there is no sorority or frat row here, meaning we do not have sorority or frat houses. We do have unofficial ones, like the number one example I can think of is Pike. One of our frats here, they have certain houses where there's just a bunch of guys within that frat living together, and then that's kind of like one of the Pike houses. For instance, if you look at UCLA, they have a whole frat row and a whole sorority row. Same with USC. Chapman does not have that. So if you do join a Greek life organization, you're going to have to expect unofficial houses. Speaking of housing, getting a house as a junior or senior within the area is extremely difficult, plus the rent here is expensive. Typically, juniors and seniors around here want to live in houses off campus and not in Chapman housing. Chapman housing is definitely the most convenient option. Living in a house definitely gives you the most adult aspect of life, or the most adult-like freedom, I guess. But it is extremely difficult to find a house here within your budget. So if you're planning on living in a house, I would say start looking at housing as early as December of your sophomore year, because the market is going to shoot up in March when everyone starts looking for housing, and in April and May when everyone starts scrambling. It is definitely one of the biggest challenges, especially if you're not moving into a house that already has people living in it. If you were to break down Chapman tuition for housing per month, it is also about the same as you would pay for a house per month in the OC area. The last thing that I think is pretty notable about Chapman, the diversity here is very much lacking. The overwhelming majority of Chapman is definitely white. I can't give you like the statistics of it right now, but I want to say about 60% of Chapman is white. Personally, the majority of my friends are actually Asian, but that's because one of the biggest ways that I found a lot of my friends was through NSU, which is an Asian club. So that definitely has a lot to do with it. I mean, if you go to a high school like I did that was a lot of white and Asian kids, it's not gonna be something that's out of the ordinary for you. And with that, that is going to wrap up all of my pros and cons for Chapman University. I definitely do think the pros outweigh the cons. There are so many great things about going to Chapman, and I absolutely love it. I've definitely found my place here. I've met the best people here that I can't even imagine what life was like before. I am very, very blessed and extremely grateful for my experience here at Chapman, and I can't wait for my last 2 years. Putting my bias aside, I hope that if you do end up coming to Chapman, that it is the best fit for you. And I hope that this video helps you figure out a little bit more and give you a little more clarity if it is. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, leave a comment down below of what else you want to see, subscribe to my channel, and turn on your post notifications for new uploads every Wednesday at 10 a.m. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.
As long as we keep it low, 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 low key.